Girls, what's a hint you dropped that was obvious, but the guy just didn't get it? Asked the guy to come back to my apartment to watch a movie after our first date. Never started the movie because he was so nervous. He got far too excited about a screen printed poster I had in my living room and wouldn't stop talking about it. So I offered to let him see the screen print I had in my bedroom. We go upstairs and he starts examining the second screen print. Finally, I pull him away and go, "Can we make out now? Cause I brought you here to make out." And finally, he got it. 4 years and 1 marriage later, he still dies inside when I tell that story. Edited for clarity, there were 2 posters. Also, an update. He feels very vindicated by your responses. Well, you shouldn't have had such a nice poster if you wanted to get some. This is why I stopped showing my stamp collection when entertaining female guests. It is just too awesome and takes their minds off making out. A story courtesy of my older brother's prom night. He had a lesbian friend who asked him if he wanted to go to prom, and he said he didn't want to cause he'd feel awkward. The girl assured him that she and her friends would hang out with him and constantly asked him to go with her. He ended up going, and later they went to go get some food alone together. They wandered around the city for a while before stopping in a park and chatting on a bench, all alone. Late at night, eventually, my brother cracks a joke like, "This would be pretty romantic if you weren't a lesbian, huh?" And the girl responds, "Well, I don't know if I'm fully a lesbian." He ended up dropping her off back home and doing nothing else. According to him, it hurts to think about to this day. Well, at the very least, he can say he isn't the guy who she figured out she in fact was a full lesbian with. He was a regular at my work. I baked him cookies, left my phone number on the wrapping, and told him to call me anytime to hang out at my house. It took 2 more months of sledgehammers before he got it. We've been together 18 years. It took 2 more months of sledgehammers before he got it. Somehow imagined you beating his ass with sledgehammers. I'm currently giving him free food, coffee, trying to make him laugh and complimenting him. Am I doing this right? He looks over at me when he walks past every time. His coworkers also said he speaks very highly of you the other night at work. I don't know, maybe he just thinks I'm weird. I think you might have to bite the bullet and just ask him out. Had an amazing first date with an awesome guy. The chemistry was just through the roof. After dinner, he walked me to my car and we just melted into each other. He was just the best kisser, you know the type. The ones that take your face in their hands and just kiss you with their whole soul. Yeah, that was him. Anyways, I asked him if he wanted to come back to my place. He sort of pulled back and looked confused and said, "Oh, that's okay, I'm going to head home. Text me when you get home." I was so shocked and couldn't figure out what had happened. He called me the next day to schedule a second date and I asked him if it upset him that I had asked him to come home with me. He was surprised and said that he must have missed me asking him back to my place. I reminded him that I had asked him while standing next to my car. He was silent for about 30 seconds and said, "Oh, I thought you asked if I wanted your Myspace handle." At first I thought he was full of shit, but no. We ended up dating for a fair amount of time. Things didn't work out, but it ended amicably, and we always laugh about how he missed out on a night of hot sex on account of Myspace. He was silent for about 30 seconds. I approve of this typo. A friend lended his jacket to his crush at a party and so had to go to her place to get it. He was greeted with a "Do you want to hang for a while? I'm bored being home alone." He panicked and said he couldn't because his mother was waiting in the car and left. To this day he regrets it and she doesn't talk to him anymore, lol. All of them. I finally just came out and told him how I felt. We were married a year and a half later. Problem is you misinterpret a signal and you're seen as a creep and word gets around quickly. We are not missing signals, we are just playing it safe. Good on you for being straightforward. It's hard to do. I couldn't agree more. Don't give a guy signals. Tell him you like him and would he like to go on a date. It's way easier than you think. But we need it to be this clear. I never thought the guy didn't get it. I always assumed he's not attracted to me. There are lots of reasons why he didn't get the hint or take you up on your offer. But the big ones are drugs, usually booze. Either he's had too much or he thinks you've had too much and doing it would be a very bad idea. Low self-esteem. Yeah, right. No woman would be interested in having sex with me. She's just being friendly. Previous bad experiences mistook friendly for interested. Bad scene ensued. I'm the low self-esteem guy. Usually takes a week before I realize I was being hit on because I just find it too hard to believe. I'm guy, but a girl was dropping major hints for me one time, but I didn't get it. Early high school, 9th or 10th EG grade. She invited me over to her place to study together, since we had like half of our classes together. I go over to her house, and she tells me that nobody will be home until really late, so it'll just be the two of us. I responded with great. No distractions. Then with a big dumb smile. Not getting it. Then she went to her room to change into more comfortable clothes. Just to come out in this see-through nightgown thing, not sure what exactly, so I could see her underwear. I just figured that it must be pretty comfortable with me then, if she's willing to wear that sort of thing. Then we studied. I got out my books, and we studied. I never even thought anything like that until I said about it to a friend like a week later. He pointed it out, and I just sat there feeling stupid. She didn't talk to me ever again after that. That last sentence. Girls, women really must think we are as switched on as they are, given how they really go for it and then just totally cut ties. They must feel utterly rejected and made a fool of, when all along we weren't even aware. Not a girl, but a guy who missed a hint but didn't realize until it was too late. This was back in probably 1986. I was about 19 and home on leave from the Navy. My younger sister invited some friends over to the house to hang in the basement, shoot some pool, whatever. So I'm sitting on the couch in the basement and I start talking with this super hot girl. She's not a close friend of my sister's, but she knows all the same people my sister does and got invited by someone else. Anyway, we end up talking all night and we continue talking until everyone else is gone. At one point she tells me she's on the pill and if I want I can try them out. That's a pretty obvious way of telling me she wants to have sex with me. Wanna know what my stupid ass thought she meant? That I could take one of her birth control pills. Yep, that's what I thought. So I tell her, no, that would be weird. She eventually realizes I'm not picking up what she's putting down, and she says she has to get home. It wasn't until later, as I lay in bed thinking about it, that I realized what she really meant. I think I woke up the whole neighborhood when I smacked myself in the forehead that night. I've never in my life felt so stupid. Edit for clarity, my sister was only a year younger than me, and her friends were all 17 or 18. The girl in question was 18 at the time of this story. Wow, this is advanced stupidity, laughing my butt off. Girls, stop dropping hints. Just be straightforward. The topic comes up regularly on various subs I frequent. You probably know about the boy code and the girl code. Social behaviors. Hints like this are part of the girl code. Hints give plausible deniability if they get uncomfortable. Hints avoid responsibility. Hints attempt to prompt the other person to make a move without actually committing to a move yourself. The girl code often works for passivity and a one down position. The girl who says I feel ugly gets compliments. The girl who says they feel pretty get torn down. In clinical studies, even social experts miss the hints most women think they are giving. Typically they are actions beyond the specific person's comfort zone and consequently only recognized if you know their personal limits. The actions themselves are generally not actually evocative. For example, asking to come to an apartment may be a move for someone who seldom has people over, but maybe nothing to someone who frequently has guests. When living with others, asking to a bedroom may be deeply personal to one person, but maybe nothing to another if that's the place they have away from others. Putting a hand next to their date might be an invitation to hold hands, or it might be just a comfortable place to put them. Men typically are required to take actions that cannot be denied. Women hint that a date might be nice, but have plausible deniability. The man must make a clear statement asking her out, and only then must she decide. The woman can offer hints about holding hands, but he must make the clear act of actually touching She can then decide. She can hint about a kiss. He must make a clear motion to kiss. Then she gets a delayed choice. She can hint about sex. He must decide to make a clear action. And she can then make a final decision. Reading this is making me realize hints I missed 2 years ago. Was texting my guy for months, dropping all the hints. It took me being like, hey look at my, but you like it. For him to be like, oh you like me. Together a year in October. I kissed a guy back in high school. He responded by hugging me for a long time, then continuing to play LOL. Texted me a year later saying he just realized that I was into him and asked if I'd be willing to try again. I was at summer camp and asked a guy if he'd be interested in putting lotion all over me. He just smiled and said sure he did, then just walked off. After a while we were going to get dressed, so I asked if he'd help unhook my bikini top. Same, just smiled, said sure did it, then left. I sat on his lap during the campfire and said there don't seem to be any more chairs. He gave me his and sat on the ground. A direct no. A girl literally told me I'd be a great girlfriend, you know. Yeah. My thoughts. I thought she was with friends making fun of me, even if that's totally something she wouldn't do, and I had a crush on her, so I ignored her hints. I wanted to tell her about my feelings for her in private, or at least away from her best friends, who were our schoolmates, so I invited her to go to the theater to see a lesson, but she said maybe, and then COVID hit. She now has a boyfriend who isn't me. Worked with a guy for 2 years, in a senior position to him. He basically ticks all the boxes of what I'm looking for in a man. And I thought we had developed a certain amount of chemistry. About a month ago, I was moving on to a different job, and I finally worked up the nerve to ask him if he wanted to go to a local brewery together. He accepted, and we had a great time, talked about family, travel, personal philosophy, spirituality, goals and ambitions, laughed a lot, stayed there until it closed, and then when we were back at our cars, he mentioned maybe we could do it again before I left town. At this point I just explicitly told him that this could have been a date, and he seemed completely bowled over by that idea. I thought inviting him and only him to a food drink venue and then having a very pleasant and substantive conversation until they closed up shop was a fairly unsubtle hint. He seemed completely taken off guard, though, and said he'd have to think about it a lot. Shrug. I told him take as much time as you need, and I haven't heard from him since. If you had chemistry at work, it might not have been that he wasn't into you, but rather not wanting to start something since you were moving out of town. In middle school I had body dysmorphia, thought I was fat because in elementary I was a bit chubby. Around 7th grade and 8th grade I got in really good shape for a middle schooler. The worst example I had of missing hints was when a girl put her hand on my thigh and I thought she was ducking with the fat kid. Another example of being oblivious was when a girl had her friend ask me if I was her type. All it took for me to break my body dysmorphia was to actually become fat, then lose all the weight. I'm a dude, but one time a girl slapped my ass, looked me in my eye, and blew a kiss at me, and I was still unaware. I got into the shower with my boyfriend and we just showered.